Okay, so many years ago, I want to check if it's recording. Okay, it's recording. Many years ago, I was financially excluded from UCT, and I have shared about this on my TikTok. I post more frequently on TikTok, so I will put a link in the description so that if you do want to see more of me, more tech content, and I feel like on TikTok I speak more about tech itself, whereas here on YouTube I share about me, the person. But anyway, if you are interested, then you can click on the link in the description box. So many years ago, I was financially excluded. At that point, I don't think I realized it like the following years after that I was actually depressed. Only looking back, I realized, okay, I was depressed. Because after I was excluded, there's a part where it's 2009, the year before the World Cup in South Africa. I I hardly have any memories. I sort of piece things together, but I don't properly remember what happened that year. And because of that, I've sort of concluded that I think I was just depressed and I didn't realize it because I was functioning. But anyway, so hearing the news of being financially excluded, I cried. I reached out to different family members. Could you please assist me? I need funds for tuition. Some people had the funds, some people chose not to. For whatever reason, I don't hold it against them. I feel like it was the universe's way of conspiring or creating my path so that no one could actually take credit for it. But I want to talk about one particular pivotal point where I was dating this guy. He was like 5 years older than me. And I remember on the phone, because it was a long distance call, I was crying and I was like, look, this is what happened. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. That's how I was feeling at that point. I didn't have hope, to be honest. And the irony is, one of my names actually means hope. But anyway, um, I was crying. I was talking to him on the phone. Like I said, long distance relationship. And after that, I was also sharing this with my grandmother because I lived with my grandmother. She was taking care of me. So that time in university, I didn't get to live on campus. I was commuting every day from Milnerton to UCT. And if you know Cape Town, you'd know that is not a short trip because it was 2 buses plus the shuttle, plus the shuttle to get on campus. So it wasn't a funny thing. Yeah, so I'll take the bus from the Golden Arrow, I think that's what it's called, from Milnerton to town. Then from town, I'll take a bus from town to OBS, and then from OBS, I'll walk up to Tugwell, and then take um, take the shuttle to Upper Campus. Then later on, I realized it would be cheaper for me to just take the bus to town and then walk from town, if you know where the bus terminus is in Cape Town, all the way to Hidden Campus. Um, and then it would then be one bus, and then I'll take the shuttle. But then I realized later on that that would make me tired before lectures, and my lecture started at 8. So I then chose that option of using Hidden Shuttle in the evening coming back, just to save on finances. But anyway, so I was excluded at this point, and this guy was like, look, this is unfortunate, but you know what? There's a way out. Just come back home and I will marry you. And I thought, wow, that is a great idea. I shouldn't laugh because at that point it sounded like a great idea. It felt like it was easier because I didn't understand that why would God want me? If God really wanted me to pursue my education, why would He make it so difficult? Why would this situation happen? Why would my family be in the situation where they can't afford to pay for my tuition? It didn't make sense. I'm grateful that I had a great relationship with my grandmother, and we were close, like we were very close. And so I felt safe to tell her that, look, this guy has offered to marry me. And because of how she was, she didn't get upset. She remained calm. And then she said, look, if that man loves you, he would actually find a way to support you and your dream of pursuing your education. But in my head, I was like, no, but he wants to marry me. That is even like what is this, like it's of more weight. At least that's what I thought at that time. I was young. And she didn't fight me. She was very prayerful as a person and very spiritual as well. And so she says, look, okay, you're right. If God wants you to study, he will make a way. But then she struck a deal with me. She said, look, by the end of this week, if you don't even get a job that will allow you to pay for your tuition and work to put yourself through school, then you can go back home and marry this man. But if you get a job, you have to stay and pursue your education. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I said, we were cool. And she wasn't aggressive, and she wasn't forceful about it. And so she prayed about it. Then one day in that week, where I was thinking, I need to start packing, I'm going to go back home to my parents and get married. I can't believe I thought that was an actual solution. But then again, I guess it's part of the journey, and that's why I guess I appreciate my education so much. One of the days my uncle came home, one of my uncles passed by my grandmother's place, and he was just talking about, one of the places where he delivers, because he worked for a gas company, and one of the places where he delivers, they wanted people who could pack, those coin bags that banks give you to put coins in with the different instructions, like 5-cent coins are equal to, I don't know, 5 rand or whatever, or 100 5-cent coins are equal to 5 rand. Those type of small bags, the factory manufactured those bags, and they needed packers. And so my grandmother was like, no, great, Vuvu is looking for a job. And then he was like, okay, fine, I'll come and I'll pick you up the following morning. And he did. And then I started working. And then my grandmother said, you see, God does want you to pursue your education. And I'm saying this, and it sounds so romantic. And it sounds so easy, because it was so tough even after that. And at that factory, I then got promoted. I started making beer. I worked in the brewery as a result, and it was just an upward trajectory from that point on, right? And I am here almost 20 years later, and I'm making this video specifically for the young people that I speak to, and I bump into so many of them, and they are wanting to pursue a career in influencing and stuff online or trading or whatever it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, as someone who works in tech, I believe that technology is supposed to make our lives easier. And if there's a way to achieve your dreams using technology without you suffering, definitely go for it. But what I'd like to emphasize is there is value in getting an education. Even when there's AI, people say, yeah, but the kids are just using AI in school. I think people don't understand the point of going to school, the point of getting an education. And I don't necessarily mean a tertiary qualification, though that's what I'm really emphasizing on, but getting a qualification, learning a skill, learning to critically evaluate a piece of information as part of your assignments, all of those things. I think there's value in that. People like to say education is not important because they're training you to be an employee. But I think it's deeper than that. I think that's such a way of trivializing it. Because for me, like I said in the beginning, I thought getting married was a solution, and there's nothing wrong with marriage. I don't have a problem with it, by the way. If that's what you want, good for you. We love it for you. And if you don't want it, it's also okay. It's not a right or wrong. I'm just saying that investing in an education for myself changed the trajectory of my life. And while I still hear about this other gentleman, and I think his intentions were good, I can't speak to his intentions, I'd just like to assume they were good. His life is okay, but it's not the life that I would have wanted for myself now. I know I would have been miserable, because I've always been very ambitious as a person, and I've always been competitive in my nature, and I know I would have been so miserable in that situation. And he is happy, he is comfortable, it's just not what I wanted for my life. And so why I'm saying this even if you do choose to pursue a career as an influencer, or if you choose to pursue a career with trading or whatever it is that comes up, that technology sort of creates opportunities for, I feel like the people who make it long term are people with some form of education, people with an understanding, who are critical thinkers. What do I mean by that? Someone who goes viral once, for example, without a strategy, without a long-term plan, or who starts getting a buzz and all of that, I've noticed that at some point with that, they eventually sort of the excitement or the buzz around them sort of slows down unless they keep doing things to keep themselves relevant and top of mind to us. However, there's some people who have then been able to pivot and create actual businesses and careers and grow from that place, and where their source of income is not only tied to how many people like their videos online, while it can be a source of income for them. I feel like those people then are more secure. They they have options, they have choices, unlike the people who are desperately trying to negotiate brand deals. And even with the brand deals, for example, I feel like people who are educated are able to negotiate differently. And again, I'm not talking about tertiary education. Sometimes education can come in the form of observing other people, being mentored by other people, watching other people, reading books, reading credible information, and assessing things, like just taking the time to invest in yourself, your mind, and your knowledge, and to critique how you think and how you approach life, and not to just approach life based on how you have been raised and how the people around you think. Just to be able to be an independent thinker. I think that's what it is, to have the confidence to be an independent thinker that is based on knowledge, research, and understanding, and a community. I think that's it. I think even if you want to be an influencer, I feel like there is value in being educated. There's value in investing in yourself, because the more you know, or the more you secure yourself, you are able to go further. For example, when people are building a house or a home, or a building rather, they don't decide midway to make it a double story. Before they actually start digging, they have a plan. An architect has been commissioned to design the house, etc. And before they even start building up, the depth of the foundation depends on how high they want to go. And I feel like education, regardless of what the hype might say, is still a solid foundation. And I know a lot of people who were educated in one particular thing, have a qualification in one particular thing, but then they're working on something else completely different. For example, someone might have, I know actually, someone who has a degree in finance, right? But their line of work now, where they're making millions, is in the creative space, and they're doing well for themselves. And because they have that financial background, their businesses are thriving because they have that understanding. And I'm not saying finance is the only thing. You could have a background in tech, you could have a background in economics, or even social sciences, whatever it is. Being educated will always work for you, especially if you're a woman. It will give you options, it will give you choices, it will give you freedom, it will give you the freedom of thought. It will just work for you. So yeah, I don't think my life would be where it is right now if I hadn't done that painful thing of going through many years of putting myself through school while working. And while I might not be where I want to be, I would still recommend getting an education. And I get that I have a 9 to 5, And yes, I do work in corporate and I work in tech, and that is what I like. I have always been passionate about technology. Um, while that is what is bringing me joy right now, it might not look the same for you, but whatever it is that you want to pursue, I still feel like having the educational foundation will do you a lot of good. Yeah, that's it for me today. You can having a being educated. Hey, Sana, I don't know if this is making sense.